of the Willistock Whig. These territories are covered by treaties of peace and friendship of the Willistock Whig. People first signed with the British Crown in 1725. Attendance has. Yes.
Yes.
Approval of the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Move on now to conflict of interest disclosure, and I will turn it over to staff member Don, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. As you are aware, it's the board's practice to ask the directors annually to review our conflict of interest guidelines and sign a statement of disclosure. I guess a comment I'd make is that, there's nothing wrong with having a conflict if one arises. It's not illegal, it's not immoral, but it is important that you disclose it if that happens. And with regard to a conflict of interest, it relates to a financial interest that you might have or a family associate might have in the decision that is before the board. And by financial interest, that means the potential for gain or loss as a result of it. I talked about family associate. The act is pretty clear with regard to who is your family associate. It's not your first cousin, but it is your parents, your siblings, yourself, and your children. You may find situations where you have a financial interest and are unable to come to an impartial decision because of some relationship you have with a family associate other than those people that I've just described. And there's nothing wrong with that. Included in your package today was this section of our bylaw, which for the most part is almost verbatim taken from the act. I guess what I would say is that if you know that you have a conflict of interest in advance of a meeting, you should reach out to the board secretary who can provide you some guidance in that regard. There's also provincial forms that you can fill out which help a record of your disclosure. One of the things that is required when you do have a conflict of interest is that before that item on the agenda is discussed, you must leave the room. And we'll let you know when that's done, pardon me, and then you can come back and join the meeting for the rest of the term. Sometimes our quorum could be impacted by people declaring a conflict of interest. But if that's the only reason that we were to fall below quorum, the remaining members can continue the meeting and make a decision. And so, having said that, you've had an opportunity to have a look at the information in the package. Kelly has the annual disclosure forms that we ask to be signed and kept on file, and she'll follow up with you at this meeting or afterwards. And Madam Chair, if there were any questions with respect to this item, I'd be happy to deal with them now.
Considering the disclosure form, I am pleased to say that all directors around the table have signed and submitted them to Kelly. And I know staff will reach out to you, Director Fox, and make arrangements for you to sign it.
It should be in her inbox.
Thank you. Great. So, are there any questions for staff member Don? Pretty straightforward. Thank you, Don.
Thank
And
you,
I
Madam
will
Chair.
ask tonight, are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Take that as a no. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. A, approval of the minutes from November the 5th, 2024, December the 3rd, 2024, December 18th, 2024. B, Economic Expansion Committee report. C, Regional Infrastructure Committee report. D, Public Safety Committee report. E, Tenders, fourth quarter report 2024. I need a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved, Madam Clerk.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll move on now to number 6, CEO report and verbal update. John Smith, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, through you to the members. Just a few housekeeping things every now and again. I'd like to take the opportunity and provide an overview of things that are happening within the organization. First and foremost, I want to begin with thanking everybody for attending the CRSC Winter Forum. I wanted to let you all know that we'll be looking at the results of each area of everything from priority session to the MC advisory suggestions. And as a team, we'll workshop those ideas together around this table. And we'll be able to look at that either in person, via surveys, however that works best in order to get the best possible outcomes moving forward. And as the process unfolds, we'll keep you apprised at each step of the journey. Just on the aquatic center, I just wanted to let you know that we made a commitment, the CRSC had made a commitment to see through the architectural and design phase. That internally is led by Brett McCray and myself, with a steering committee comprised of members from the communities that are within that. We've had some changes on that steering committee, but everything is still continuing forward. And we're continuing to have dialogue with the city with respect to that as well. So we're continuing on that. We're an organization that lives its values and we fulfill our obligations. And that was one of them, and we'll see that through. And there's no additional financial request or anything to the folks around the table. The funding that was allocated at the time of the commitment was collected, and that's what we'll see us through to the end of that. So just wanted to apprise you of that. From the operations side, I just want to let you know that a lot of times people, we get outreach from staff and counselors and mayors all around the region asking, from time to time regarding some help, whether that's some advice, whether it's some coaching, whether it's appearance before council, mayor and council within the communities to help do that. When we try that, and the range from these relationship issues goes from, really from the relationship to operational understanding. And we do have a lot of people with a lot of experience. You look at your senior team, that's usually here with us tonight, but for a lot of reasons, there's people remote and people away, a bunch of flu bugs going and all kinds of different things. But we're very pleased to help when we can. And the team always steps up. And I want to thank the team for that. But I want you to know that we do this with the best interest of the communities and the region at heart. And, if there's ever any questions or any wonder, why we're meeting with somebody or anything within that, feel free to reach out and we'll give you whatever we can. Our new space, everybody's been asking tonight. I'm kind of looking at the owl, but I'm really looking at the camera, looking over at Don. Don's been quarterbacking a lot of this with us, and he's been doing a terrific job and overseeing this. And like anything, there's always a bump or two in the road. And the reality here is we didn't take the entire floor, as you know. We took a big chunk of the floor and in the kitchen area. And unfortunately, fortunately, I think we should look at it positive. During inspection, we realized that we would need a firewall to segregate the two different spaces. So that's being worked on now. The permits have been obtained, and they're working through that process. I don't know, Don, if you have anything further that you want to comment on that.
Madam Chair, that's a pretty good summary. I guess what I would add is to the directors is that we are hopeful that we will take possession of the new premises at the end of February. This might result in our March board meeting looking a little more under construction than it has been, but short-term pain for long-term gain.
I want to, through you, Madam Chair, I want to thank Don and everybody that's been involved in this process. Don's been negotiating feverishly with the landlord to ensure that there's no undue cost attributed to the CRSC, that everything's maintained, and if there's any delays, they're picking that up or compensating us in some way, shape, or form. So just know that we're working in the best interest of the commission in terms of that. Standing committees have been scheduled to meet, and we're looking forward to a very positive 2025. The audit committee has already met January 30th, 2025, and thank Mary Kay and the team on that for a very positive meeting and some direction to staff that came out of that to be able to circulate the document with a little bit more advanced notice so that people would have adequate time to review. So we'll own that, and we'll make sure and ensure that happens. Public safety forum tomorrow evening is virtual. If people have community members that are interested in terms of that, we have a broad swath. Brett is the senior lead on that particular file, and he and Kelly attend those meetings. And not to name all the chairs and everybody involved, but Director Morrison is the chair on that, and those are big forums. There's a lot of people that attend those from around the region. They're great for getting messages out. They're also great for getting answers and responses and bringing issues to the forefront. So I want to say thanks for that. Community development is on February 11th, 2025. You don't have to mark everything down. We'll be sending you out some information on this very soon. And Director Hayward is on that, and Don is the senior lead. We'll certainly make sure that in terms of everything that we have when we're looking at that, there's some very positive and some good things coming out of community development, and eventually looking at the study on that was agreed to during the budget process to look through the region and ensure that we're not duplicating, but we're working in synergies and finding those ways to cooperate and learn from one another, and to ensure that we minimize any duplication as much as possible. Our Economic Expansion Committee on February 18th, 2025 is going to be meeting. We'll be sending a note out to all communities to have folks that you would like to have present or to attend, ask questions, whether that be your CAOs, interested councillors, maybe other mayors who would like to have another stab at it. But David Campbell will be back to present his report on the regional integrated economy that he gave to us at the Winter Forum. So people have been asking, how can I get in on that? How can I do it? We'll have messaging out for you on that. Governance committee within that as well. We're looking over at that right now, and that's going to be a very busy committee. There's lots to be done on that. Oh, sorry. Director Fox, sorry, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you, I had a question. You mentioned the Economic Expansion Committee work, and it relates back to the report that we approved earlier. There was a recommendation in there that the reports from Ignite and Fredericton Capital Region Tourism be shared with the board before some direction was given to staff. Are those reports going to be shared?
Yes, I will. Director Fox will have those out tomorrow to you. That may have been an oversight. Apologize on that, but we'll certainly have those out to you.
No, that's great. Thanks.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you. And our governance committee, chaired by Director Sweeney, will be meeting on February 20th. And there's going to be lots in there to talk about, especially around some of the priorities that we talked about at the Winter Forum, and things that people want to do around training and development and all sorts of things related to governance, and looking at that moving forward. The infrastructure committee will be meeting on February 20th or 25th, sorry, 2025, and we'll have, right now we're lining up our presenters at that, and we'll have more information out to you, but large discussion at that particular meeting will be all around infrastructure or trail infrastructure and development in the region. We've done the mapping project, so we have the asset map. Those are the assets in your communities, ball fields, pickleball courts, tennis courts, things that people can use and learn to where they and understand where they are. They'll identify where they're located, what's in the communities. They've been working with your CAOs on that to update them and test the information to ensure it's correct. They'll present on that just to give a quick snapshot that that's been updated, and we'll be able to share that once we touch it up a bit, and you'll be able to put that on your websites, and everybody will be able to share within that, and will be on the CRSC website as well. Also at that meeting, we've had a trail mapping project underway, and that will be presented as well. And we're possibly looking at a third presentation, but I haven't been able to confirm that today, but we'll certainly get that out to you as soon as possible with all that information on it. That's it for I guess, for the near future. I guess to say that February and March are kind of audit season for the CRSC. So, you know, Mary Kay and the team will be busy, and everybody will be participating as much as possible. We're also developing a process forward to respond to the, again, to the motion that was filed to review all community development activities to ensure that we are not duplicating services. Once we have that further developed, we're going to look at that region wide, not just with the CRSC and any one community. We're going to look pursuant to the motion right around the region. We can all learn from one another. There's a lot of great things happening. I was talking earlier today on physician recruitment, and part of that, part of the discussion ended up around newcomer settlement. And, you know, we talk about this, we have a care strategy being developed in the area, you know, in terms of integration of and retention of newcomers and attraction and how that all gets connected together. So the care strategy will be announced here soon, but there's pockets of areas that are doing exceptionally well in welcoming newcomers to the communities, and we can all learn from one another. So we're going to try to really put an emphasis on working together. The Ignite and Fredericton Capital Region Tourism AGMs and reporting are all set for April. We'll get to specific dates on those. Our annual general meeting is April 1st, 2024. There will be a priority session will be held in an in-person meeting of the board on April 2nd. More details will follow on that, but it's to ensure that for the year ahead and the foreseeable future that we're meeting with your needs and meeting your expectations as well. And that will lead to part of that workshopping and developing all of that together. Our priority session at the Winter Forum, we had, you know, some things that kind of percolated to the top. You know, some of those were some of the things that came were training for directors on best practices, and we hear you on that. Communication with communities on having open houses was certainly on there. Regional collection of you know, regional collection services, possibly looking at some synergies. We've heard that several times, but Brett and I've had a high level conversation on that as well. But one of the ones that really percolated and stood out was the physician and healthcare recruitment. And during the forum, I've spoken to several of the folks around this table, and perhaps before the priority session, we may need to have a meeting just kind of focused on that to see where everybody's at and how we want to approach that regionally. There's lots of great work going on between the committees in Fredericton, the committee in Oromocto. There's been some great success recently. I don't know why we don't hear more about it with doctors coming to the region. We hear more about doctors leaving the region than we do about doctors coming to the region. There's been some very positive news on that. But working with Horizon to make sure that we get that news out in terms of that.
Well, I would say we suggest, Madam
Yes.
Chair, I would suggest we make that a priority. I mean, I know it's it's not lost on me at the state of province is one of the strategic priorities of this government over the next 20 years. And I say we strike while the iron is hot as through a commissioner and hopefully to talk about what we can do as mayors to improve with it and see what's working in this region and pull together and see what we can do to attract professionals. I know, Marty, you were doing a lot in with the group. There's things happening here in Fredericton. I think we really have to strike fast.
Yes.
I'd also like to comment on that, in our area, in ours especially, we have 209 graduates that are PR happening, this month. That's a lot, that's a big number when the whole region was talking 800. So when I have 209 and I have no doctors for those 209 people, retention becomes a really big, difficult avenue. So instead of us working alone trying to recruit and understand, I would like to see our capital region go to somebody like UNB and say, as a third party independent, not Horizon, not our villages, what is it? Can you do an inventory of doctors in the area and where are they needed? Maybe they're needed in your area. Maybe they're needed in your area first. Maybe they're needed in your area. Then we work as a region to boost our area correctly. So your only strength is you're strong as your weakest link. And when it comes to doctors, we gotta be careful. We have to make sure that everybody has health care.
We'll try. And I'll reach out.
And you have to have everyone singing from the same input. That's, well, not four different horizon doctors, communities. That's the second thing. That's
Yes.
what I found in talking to the doctors.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I couldn't agree with Director Forsyth more. We need to be singing from the same hymn book. But to that end, the province is redefining healthcare as not necessarily requiring a family doctor. That's got to be the hymn we sing. We're not looking to get a family doctor and a chicken in every pot in every house. We're looking at providing adequate personnel for the healthcare provision the province is looking at, right? And that's multidisciplinary healthcare teams and all that other kind of stuff. But I think we might well invest an afternoon of time in other avenues that municipalities can go down in order to relieve pressure on the healthcare system. One of the things that I've been talking to staff at the city of Fredericton about, and I haven't found a way to leverage this, but is by adding managed care facilities to our housing continuum that we track locally so that we can start to eliminate red tape and start to help develop more managed care facilities in order to get the people out of our hospital system that are currently referred to as bed blockers and whatnot. We get hundreds of those people released. That's the equivalent of creating doctors, right? Changing their workload, making things easier. And housing and development is in our area of expertise. So unlike recruitment and coming up with funding for scholarships, which is a new area for us. But anyway, there might be other ideas as well. And I want to do everything.
Absolutely, and I want to be involved in the conversations
Yeah.
because we have a clinic in New Maryland that has been almost empty for an upcoming year. And we need a doctor in there or two doctors. That place needs to be occupied. So I am more than willing to come to the table and talk.
Can I just say one more thing is that we have to be open to the fact that not one shoe fits everybody. And that when we talk about bed blockers, we don't have any bed blockers, because we don't have any beds. So we want to make sure that we have sufficient care for our people in our area, in local rural areas as well, as we make sure that we look after Frederictons and Mormocos that have those bed blocker issues and things like that. And so one side might not just work for everybody.
But we all have to work together. We have to come to the table, put everything on the table and work together as a team. Absolutely, yes. So anything further on that? For our staff member? Nope.
No, Madam Chair, I think that's clear. We'll start the process of putting that together.
Okay.
I just had one more, Madam Chair. Over the last year, Brett has presented in camera and in session and about some of the contracts that he's been working on through the solid waste division. And this weekend, he and his team worked very hard to make some advancements in those areas. And if you're okay with it, Madam Chair, I'd like to turn it over to Brett to give an overview of that. And I just want you to know that they worked well into the evening in terms to make sure that all worked. And I think they should be recognized for that. So.
Okay, sure. Okay, Brett.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This won't take too long, but just wanted to present an update, I guess, on the Scotia deal that we've been working on. We spoke about it briefly in December. Wanted to advise the board that we've officially closed on that deal. It became effective Saturday morning at 12:01 a.m. Staff have been advised. They're happy with it. And as of today, we're officially, Fredericton is officially Scotia Recycling's New Brunswick processing hub. So I think that's something that we can all be proud of. Beyond that, SRL, Scotia Recycling Limited, they intend to grow their ICI business. So that's industrial, commercial, institutional. And at the same time, they're going to continue to focus on extended producer responsibility programs. And those are the programs that we're all familiar with in our homes. So those are all the residential programs. Typically ICI and residential, they're about a 50-50 split. So that's good news. ICI typically provides a large amount of stability that sometimes you don't get on the residential side. On top of all of that, I think it's important to note that this partnership with Scotia Recycling, it really positions the capital region ideally for what I expect is going to be a year or two of consolidation for the recycling business in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI. And I think it's also worth noting that this deal is the first of its kind in New Brunswick, and I think it's something that we can all be proud of, especially the directors for giving us the go ahead and the support to get something like this done. Pretty innovative approach, and definitely a good news story. And I expect, speaking of news, it's probably going to start showing up in the media here within the next day or two. There's been a press release, and so don't be surprised if you see something in the Gleaner in the next day or so. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brett. Does anyone have any questions for Brett?
I do know. Do we have a copy of the press release distributed to us?
Yeah, once that comes out, Brett, we'll just we'll have Kelly will circulate it to the directors.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Madam Chair, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention on that with the good work that Brett and the team have done, and that this protects employment in the area, and every job protected in these uncertain times of everything else that's going on. They did a bang up job for us, just terrific, and I really think that should be recognized. So, thank you.
On behalf of the directors, Brett and your team, thank you. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
No further questions? No, and that's it for you?
That's it for me then.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Wait, brother.